that we legally cannot serve will not be served today. Because I believe we're live streaming. Is this true? So welcome all of our folks that are live streaming here on Facebook. You are live here at Thinker Ventures. It happens every Wednesday, 9 a.m., a thing called 1 Million Cups, where we listen to a small business owner, an entrepreneur, or another interesting person talk about the amazing thing that they're doing in the Rockford area. Thanks for joining us. I promised a prize for the person who found their seat first. I didn't say it was a good prize. However, I present to you buttered popcorn. Yep. Yeah, isn't that fun? Also a prize to the second person to find their seat, buttered popcorn. All right. Yes. So I invested in a fundraiser. Turns out I don't eat that much buttered popcorn. So I have prizes for buttered popcorn. The next prize I want to give out. So we've been doing 1 Million Cups here for quite some time. How many of you have been here for at least on a regular basis? How many of you have been here for at least 6 months? 9 months? How many have been here for a year? Over a year? How many of you have been here from the beginning? You've been here from the beginning. All right. Buttered popcorn. Let's give him a hand. Nathan's been here from the beginning too. No. Technically, we're going to split hairs here. We're going to say Stillman Bank is the sponsor. So Stillman has been a sponsor of 1 Million Cups since before it was here. Since really we were at the Nordloff from the get-go, and that's been pretty exciting. Plus, Nathan is an all-around stand-up guy. So Nathan, for those of you who don't know Nathan, he's a stand-up guy. For those of you who do, he's a stand-up as the rest of us. Popcorn for you. Charlie, you've been here from the beginning? At the Nordloff Center? Oh, yeah. Yeah. So one of the first presenters. You know what? Butter popcorn. That's right. And you get a school, and you get a school. If you look under your chairs, there's a beluga whale. What am I going to do with a beluga whale? Oh, you know what? That is a fantastic. Anybody who's been here, who is here right now for the first time. Oh my gosh. Hold on. Hey, Alex. Can you do me a favor? On the kitchen table. run. Get me a buttered popcorn on the kitchen table, please. Yep. This is good. Well, welcome to 1 Million Cups. We'll congratulate you for being the first time in just a minute as soon as I have something to give you. I don't know what it'll be. It's so exciting. All right. So today, I've learned my lesson. It's only 2 cups of regular, and then oh my gosh, there's more than man.
4 people have their hands up.
4 people are new? Is this true? Oh my gosh, how exciting! And new? Well, welcome. There we go. Let's give them a hand. Yeah. You didn't know you were going to get buttered popcorn today, did you? It was. Oh, hey, welcome. There we go. Let's give everybody who's new, or anybody who's old, let's give all yourselves a hand for being here. Today we have an exciting day, as most Wednesdays are. We have Addie Ford from Grantview Distillery. We also have John Gustafson, who's a third-generation farmer. He's going to talk to us about heirloom and specialty grains. Today we're talking about whiskey, which is super fun. Last week we talked about brewing, also super fun. Along with all the other things that we've ever talked about at 1 Million Cups. So we're super excited to have them here. Here's how the format's going to work. They're going to present their businesses for, let's say, 10 minutes apiece. So they're going to kind of co-present today. After which, we're going to ask 3 questions. Now, be listening for the answers to these 3 questions in their presentations. The questions are, what's the product or service? Who's the target audience? And what's amazing about the management team? After we invite you to give your responses on what you heard, then we'll come up for general Q&A. We'll let you ask your questions from them, and then we'll come up with our 4th question at the end. and then we'll be done. But today we want to thank Kurt Berry of Stillwater Financial. Kurt, you want to throw your hand up there? He is responsible, along with Bob Ewald from Fresh Horizons Coffee Company, for your coffee today. So we do want to thank Kurt for being a stand-up guy as well, and you've been here for a while too. I don't have more popcorn. He's got popcorn at home. And then also, after 1 million cups today, we're having the Google Partners Connect event at 10:45 till noon. Google's going to come live stream talking about what they're doing for business-to-business companies and how you can take advantage of their products or services to reach your target audience. Also, well, this was a new one. I'm just going to read this. If you've ever been curious about joining the Rotary Club, I did some work with Rotary in the past. It's a fantastic organization. The Rockford Loves Park, Pecatonica, and Roscoe Rotary Clubs are having a social hour on November 15th from 5 to 7 p.m. at Prairie Street Brew House. So social hour, November 15th for Rotary from 5 to 7 at Prairie Street Brewing Company at the Brew House. You know where that's at. And if you don't know where it's at, turn to your neighbor and say, "Where's the Brew House?" And they'll tell you. Today is 1 million cups. You are in the warmth of your friends and family here to listen to Addie Ford and John Gustafson talk about their businesses in the Rockford area. Would you welcome them to 1 million cups?
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, now I just have to get used to this because this sounds super loud. So my name is Addie Ford, and I am with Grantview Distillery.
I'm John. Is mine working?
I don't know.
That's okay. I can hear you really loud. I can't.
So this is John Gustafson with Bear Grains.
Now, Addie had a whole slide presentation for me to do, and she asked, "Did you look at your thing?" And I go, "No, I just hear." I said, "I'll wing it."
So I do the homework. So my husband, Tim, couldn't be here. He's busy back at the distillery. We are waiting for ComEd to hook us up so that our stills can get some power and we can start making whiskey, bourbon, and rum. So
We have a rum, yeah.
So we are the first legal distillery in Rockford, Illinois. Just a little bit of background. I'm going to jump around just a little bit because I think that will help to have you kind of jump in. So
Should we pass these around while we're?
I think you should. So this morning we have a little treat for you. John made pancakes with his Bear Grains, and we put a little whiskey in it.
It has the 40 Winks whiskey in it. So we'll just pass this around, and you guys can grab a pancake and.
And he'll talk a little bit more about the grain that he uses, being a regenerative farmer. But Tim and I are actually we come from the airline world. And like the military, it's super, super transient. Super transient. So we spent years traveling and living all around the country and overseas, but we really, really wanted to come home and establish roots. I'm a fourth generation Rockfordian. This is my home. I'm a Boylan grad, went to Rock Valley College. My family's all here. My peeps won't leave. So I got to come back. But the question really was, how do we do that? That was the $1 million question. And we had 3 aha moments in the series of the last 3 years. And one of those aha moments was going down on a business trip to Kentucky. And as most of you who have been down to Kentucky, you got to hit the Bourbon Trail when you're down there. And when we did that, it really was kind of the beginning of our dream to bring American distilled spirits to our beloved Rockford.
I think we need a bourbon trail in Rockford.
I think we do too.
Farm to bourbon.
Farm to bourbon to restaurant.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is 3 years in the making. As with any business, it always takes a lot of time to get there there's a lot of risk involved. There's a lot of process involved. There's a lot of hurry and wait. Hurry, wait, hurry, wait, hurry, wait. So for us, we had to form a business.
I'm not very good at not interrupting. I'm thinking I got to make rum pancakes next.
So
when's the rum ready?
It'll be ready by the end of the year, beginning of January.
Ooh, all right. Rum pancakes are next.
So for us, we had to form a business plan. We had to scout for a location. We really wanted, because we came back to Rockford, this is my hometown, we wanted to find what is the history of Rockford. Well, that was our second aha moment, when we actually discovered that the Graham Ginestra House was the owner of the first distillery here in Rockford, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. The third aha moment was finding a grain farmer that can supply me grain to make a product that was here 100 years ago. And John will talk more about the grain and farming and what that means to us. So in doing that, we had to apply for a DSP. For those of you that don't know that, that's approval with the federal government. Then we had to apply with the local government here in Rockford and apply with the state government. So lots of government regulations and regulatory, everybody wants a piece. We had to purchase equipment, build a distillery, create recipes that are specialty crops, that we've got specialty crops on our farm. That was the location that we found. And then create a unique quality product that reflects the spirit of Rockford. And that's really kind of the aha moments with the Graham Ginestra House, Bear Grains, and distilling. So, but more than that, we really had to have fun. And it's like a racehorse. You know, when you're at the gate and you're wanting to get out there and you're ready and you're just waiting for that gate to hit, it's really exciting when the gate opens. So when we scouted for a location, we found Grantview Heights Farm. It's part of why we are called Grantview Distillery. The other part is we actually overlook what used to be Camp Grant, and which is now Rockford Airport. So again, that Rockford connection, one more connection to our local community. We're situated on 22 acres and as a specialty crop farm, and we've got a small craft-size vineyard. We've got orchards. Those will all go into brandy production and whiskey production. And I think that we bring a unique agribusiness and a tourist destination to Rockford once we get our tasting room done, which will be probably summer of 2019. So really excited about that. We're working with Larson and Darby for our tasting room, which is below. Kind of really want to plug in back to that land and what it looks like instead of putting up a pole barn or a regular barn. We wanted to do something different and unique so that you could come out and not only enjoy the land, but you can enjoy the architecture as well, done by a local architect. So with the collaboration of the Graham Brothers Distillery, the Graham Ginestra House, and Bear Grains, the Graham Ginestra House, like I said, was the first producer of sour mash in Illinois. And that was back in the 1800s, late 1800s. And Bear Grains specializes in regenerative farming. Huh? Right? I got that right?
Got it.
Okay, good. So joining forces with this team, we really feel like we can attempt to recreate a sour mash bourbon whiskey and rye that hasn't been tasted or produced in over 100 years. So we're really excited to bring that back to Rockford. So that Heritage Series is expected to be released in 2021. I know, put it on your calendars. But until then, we've got 40 Winks. You will find 40 Winks out in retail locations right now. We're in Cork and Keg. We're also in our Tallies and Everett's up in South Beloit. Some of the restaurants that will be carrying us or are carrying us, maybe they haven't gotten their delivery yet, Joseph's, Francesco's, Giovanni's, Five Forks, hold on, let me see, Baker Street Burgers. Irish Rose. So if they don't have our product, ask your local bartender for a glass of 40 Winks. So while our heritage whiskey is resting, so 40 Winks means taking a nap. So while our whiskey is resting, we wanted to give our customers something really unique and really special. We personally searched out, we researched, and then we acquired some selected barrels. We brought them to Rockford. We have hand bottled, hand labeled every single one of them. I've got a pen that I need to redo my pen, and we're only at the third barrel. So And I really hope that if you were to pick up a bottle, if you were to have a drink, that you let your nose and your taste buds let us know that we made a good decision. So while our stuff is waiting. We've got some spirits to come in the future. Sometime probably in early January, we will be releasing a rum. It's created from sugarcane, a byproduct of molasses. And the unique thing that we do with our rum is that, again, we've got a small crop farm. And on that crop farm, we will be growing tomatoes. And you think tomatoes and rum? Does that work? But if you think about it, so when you have yeast, yeast needs to eat something in order to make alcohol. Well, a lot of the bigger rum distillers will actually use chemicals. We use an organic base, which is tomatoes. So it makes for a super organic, earthy, it's good. I'm just, not that, it's good. The other one that we'll produce is vodka. To the right, I get my right and left confused sometimes, so to the right are our two stills that we actually have up and assembled. To the left, we lovingly call him Wally. When he went up, he actually started out as Big Zeke, but he went up and I was like, oh, it's Wally. Oh. And then she went up and, ooh, that's Eve because she's kind of sexy. So Wally is our rum still, and Eve is our bourbon still. And Eve will also be making our vodka. So kind of exciting. So before I hand it over to John, I want to talk a little bit about the history, because I think that that's super important for you to understand how we got to this point. The Graham Brothers Distillery was owned by a gentleman named Freeman Graham. He moved to Rockford when he was 51 and really aided in building up Rockford. He managed the Emerson Talcott building, which was Manny Reaper, which is associated with Tinker Cottage. And he founded and was the owner of the Cotton Mill Company and the Graham Brothers Distillery, which opened in 1876 and closed just before Prohibition in 1919. The Graham Brothers Distillery was home to the first sour mash, and it was a 3-generation distillery. So Freeman Graham started it when he was 70 years old, so it's never too late to do something that you love. And then his son Byron took it over, and his son Harry took it over from that point. So the Graham Genestra House, which you can find right over here on South Main Street, is open for tours. And it was built in 1857, and more than 100 years later, they still have some of the remnants that were from the distillery on display. So you have to ask, but you can see it. So I'm going to hand it over to John, because really, distilling kind of starts with grain. And farming plays a vital role in distilling. And John.
Hello, everyone. It was funny, how were the whiskey pancakes, the 40 Winks whiskey? We created that last night at the Agri Lab. So they talk about things being created at the Agri Lab. We were talking about it, and we just did it. I had to change the recipe 3 times this morning, but I think it turned out all right.
You did?
Maybe a little more whiskey, but... So I'm 3rd-generation farmer for our farm. My kids are 4th generation. We've been trying to figure out how do we compete with these mega farmers, and we can't. And so we need to look at things differently. We can't compete on the same playing field. It's just like the local business trying to compete with Walmart or trying to compete with any big box store. So you've got to find that niche in the market. So what we did is we decided we wanted to raise more specialty crops. And that was kind of born from our regenerative agriculture farm. So there's conventional agriculture, and frankly, we're depleting the soils every year that we farm that way. There's no-till agriculture, which is very sustainable, and then there's regenerative agriculture. So we moved from no-till operation into regenerative by adding cover crops, so we grow crops year-round on our soils, and that builds the nutrients in the soil, and that's what makes us a regenerative agriculture farm. And because of that, the grain that we produce is very nutrient dense. And so we're farming very environmentally friendly, and we're giving our crops away on this regular market. So we're raising good crops, we need to find a value-added market so we can get a premium for what we're doing. So, and a good way to describe this, nutrient-dense vegetables. Have you ever had a tomato out of a local garden or a local?
Speaking of tomatoes and rum.
Yeah, and this is a good example of why tomato is a great organic base for this rum. But you have this tomato, and you have it, and it's got so much flavor to it. It's dark red, and it's wonderful tasting. You can go to the store and you can buy an organic tomato, USD, certified organic, but it's red, but it doesn't have that nutrient density that a local farmer has with his tomatoes. And you buy other tomatoes, just have any taste, don't have anything. So we're producing a crop that has that nutrient density of that really red, ripe tomato. And so we needed to find end users that need good quality grain. So we ended up with the whiskey industry, and then we've been working with different chefs and bakeries and anyone has an artisan food product. When we put our grain in there, it just really changes the flavor. I was drinking the coffee this morning, and when you select coffee beans, do you look for the best or you look for the best price? Well, probably the best price on the best coffee beans. But why do all that work of grinding that coffee and marketing if you start with some crap that you bought out of a bin that 100 coffee farmers dumped it into? So that's why when you find that grain or that raw product, to do the artisan side of it. And so this is why Grantview and Bear Grains, we make a great combination of working together. We started doing this probably 5 years ago, and I did it by accident. I don't really do much by planning. But so we had switched to regenerative agriculture, so we're planting a lot of cover crops. Well, one of my farms, we didn't terminated the cover crops in time so we could plant another crop, so I grew the cereal rye. And I figured, well, I'll just sell this to other farmers. Well, I got a whole building full of these big bags of rye, and I'm like, what am I going to do with all this stuff? This wasn't a very bright move. And so a friend of mine said, hey, there's a distillery that just started. This was like 5 years ago. Why don't you go talk to them? So I sold my first grain, and I thought, oh man, this is why I grew all this. So we started growing more grains, and then we started adding the heritage grains in. So we looked at grains that were grown 100 years ago, kind of the beginning of our country here, and before there was a lot of genetic modification to them, so there's a whole different quality to them, but they don't yield as well. And my banker, he wasn't very happy that I wasn't, he didn't understand my plan. So we switched to all these old crops. We went backwards. We start using all our antique farm machinery. And it's kind of interesting. We got antique farm machinery with GPS units on it. So our GPS unit is connected with the satellites, and then it's recording all this stuff. So we know where we planted the seed, what variety. We know what year we planted it. We assign lot numbers to our seed as we harvest it. And so we've got a complete record of how that crop was grown. And there was that French word, and who knows how to pronounce that word? Are you any wine tasters that taste of the soil?
Wait, I was gonna translate it. But it's
goût. What is it? Goût de terroir.
Terroir.
That's it. That's the French word for the taste of the soil. That's the tomato. And that's, if you drink wine, the wine from all different parts of the world can taste different depending on what soil the grapes were grown in. And so that's the same thing with our grain. It depends, so there aren't many small grains grown in the Midwest. Most of them are grown in Canada and out west because they're sandy, arid regions. Well, sandy soils don't have the nutrient density of our Midwest soils. And then when we put it on a regenerative agriculture farm, we just completely change, that little piece of rye looks the same, but what it makes and the flavor and everything in it is completely different. So
John, are you telling me that when we drink whiskey, it's actually nutritious for us?
Oh, you bet. Especially with the rum.
Oh, yeah.
With those tomatoes, yeah. So it was interesting. So I'm doing this. My banker's kind of pissed off. And I grew this field of rye. And And this field, I should be growing corn that's raising 250 bushels, so I can take X amount of dollars. They know I can get an insurance policy on it, so I'm guaranteed a certain return, and I make my payment at the bank. But I didn't do that. I planted that field in rye, and it was supposed to yield like 45 bushel, and I've done this a number of years in a row. Well, this year, heck, it only went like 17 bushel. I mean, this is not working. But the interesting part is it's right next to their Grandview Distillery. I put it on this farm, and it isn't a mile from their house, so it works. The value of this crop is still enough. But so when we sell it and we use it as whiskey, it still has a value. My ship isn't sunk yet, and I can do it again. And we better raise more than 17 bushel next time, I hope.
Right, because I'll need it.
Yeah, when I were getting customers, it's like we can barely fill the orders we have now. So we've got to. But this happened to be a year that it rained and everything was against us. But we're sticking with it. So, but it was interesting because Addie, she came out and rode, and
I did. I was so excited in that combine. Oh my gosh, I was like a kid in a candy store. And then I'm asking a million questions like, well, what does this do? Well, what does this do? And so in here, if you've ever seen a rye field or a wheat field that's current from seed, that's a modern seed.
Normal conventional grain, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Modern conventional grain.
Okay, that's better.
Yep.
So when you see that, you see really
Uniform.
beautiful rows and everything is uniform. And here you can actually see that the property has some weeds growing in it.
Because I don't want to spray it. We can't spray chemicals on this. So, and with all this rain, I mean, I'm embarrassed that she took this picture, because to me, look at all those ragweeds down in there. It's like, oh my gosh, I hope no farmer sees this.
But you sift it all out at the end of the day.
Oh yeah, we had so much extra cleaning, but we got it done, and we put special separation equipment on our combine so we can do this. But what she was trying to point out is as a conventional grain is all even, because they genetically modify it so that every seed's the same. But if we could zoom in on that, which I don't know how to do that.
I can't.
But you could see that each one of those wheat heads, oh, there we go. So see how there's one great big tall one here, and then there's all these little short ones, and then see how this one is actually brown. So this one's ready to harvest, and this one's still green. And so that's why they bred this out of the grain, because they wanted them all to be at the same maturity level. Now, when I harvest this, we have to go to a lot of extra work to be able to get those green kernels harvested and these dry kernels, and then get them dried down so they don't mold and spoil. So it's a lot of work to do it, but that's why they bred this out of the grains and the corn and all the grains, because they wanted something easy that anybody could grow and would have an X amount of return every year. And so if you ever see a field with all these different height plants out there,
that looks like a hot mess.
Yeah, and weeds growing, is like, that's not my field. So
that's probably my whiskey.
Yeah, and this was kind of a neat picture too. So we grew some Blue Heritage corn this year, and I've never grown Blue Heritage corn. I just know that some people that make whiskey want Blue Heritage corn, so I'm trying to figure out how to grow it. And I couldn't believe it. It's got like purple silk. It's like, what the heck? This is girly corn or something, you know? It's like
it's girly corn.
I don't know. So I'm driving through past my field in my golf cart, and I go, whoa! So I had to take a picture and send to Addie.
That's pretty. That's real pretty.
Yeah, and in the same way, the corn is all on uniform, and my neighbor thinks I'm nuts because I got this field right next to my house. It's like, heck with them all. But now we just harvested the other day, and we have that same problem. We've got dry kernels, we've got wet kernels, and we're trying to blend it, and we're trying to circulate it and dry it, and it's a lot of extra work, but it's going to make an incredible whiskey. Mm-hmm. So all this extra work, to me, makes sense. So is that 2 minutes for me or 2 minutes for Addie? Okay.
Well, here's what I will say, and I think, again, working with the Graham Genestra House to get their recipes that were here 100 years ago, and then working with John, who actually knows about regenerative farming and grain that was grown here. He's got access to seed banks that we couldn't even think about. I just think that we've got a really terrific, between all three of us, I think we've got a terrific product to offer Rockford, and something, again, that hasn't been tasted or produced in 100 years, and just really cool at least we feel like, we left the airline industry to do something really cool for our community, with our community, and for our community. So.
Well, and I think, we did this competition with Tiger Lab, and, one of the things we learned out about networking and small businesses is when you can find another small business that has that same heart, that same passion for the community and the product they're making, and you can team up with another business, oh my gosh, can you actually compete with the stuff that you thought you couldn't compete on their level? So this is the cool part as we start thinking out of the box, and I love this Thinker Venture. They're thinking out about Thinker Venture, I had never even seen this. I was a new guy. I should have got 2 popcorn things, but I didn't get any.
And instead you brought pancakes.
And plus I did presentation.
You've been invited several times, John.
You always invite me when
Several.
I'm harvesting or planting or something. Anyways, hey, I love this space, though. This is cool. This is...
Listen, you have to catch him in the field. That's where I caught him yesterday. So,
She stole me out of the combine and took me to another thing,
Oh, I did too. So we just want to thank you very much. We want to thank you for your time. We hope that you'll try 40 Winks. It's a combination of a few of us that are here in Rockford. And questions? Or wait a minute. Wait, what's the format?
Yeah, we got